Hello, third graders. So today we are working on bar graphs. Yesterday we worked on picture graphs and analyzing picture graphs and solving really two-step word problems that related to picture graphs. And today our learning target is I can read a bar graph and answer two-step word problems related to the bar graph. And our success criteria is I can communicate my answer to how I solve the problem and include an equation with a variable for the unknown. So taking a look, and just like yesterday, our first step really is to analyze the graph that they're giving us. It's to make sense of the graph that they're giving us, because if we don't make sense of it, we're going to have no idea how to answer the question relating to it. So looking at this bar graph, and we know this is a bar graph because bar graphs are known for the bars that lead up or lead across them. So this bar graph, the title says Pets at a Pet Store. We have dogs, birds, fish, and cats. And when I'm thinking about pets at a pet store, I'm going to infer that this graph is going to talk about maybe, and let's take a look at this label here, the number of pets. So the number of dogs, the number of birds, the number of fish, and the number of cats at this pet store. And we have this label here of pets, so we know what these stand for. So looking at this graph, I can see that there are 6 dogs at the pet store. There are 15 birds at the pet store. There are 21 fish at the pet store. And again, I'm just kind of going over as I'm saying this. So for cats, there are 9 cats at the pet store. So now that we've kind of taken a look at the graph, let's take a look at the directions. So the directions say, take out a piece of paper and solve these two problems below in your piece of paper. Then write your equation with a variable for the unknown and communicate your answer at each box below. Be sure to explain step by step how you found your answer. An example of how to communicate your answer is in the first box below. So we have this question that says, how many birds, fish, and dogs are there combined? Well, we see that word combined, and I'm going to grab my little highlighter here. Combined. Boy, that doesn't look like a highlighter, does it? So let's try that again, because I feel like I might have used. Okay, let me grab my big eraser. Boop, boop, boop. And then I'm going to grab my highlighter and try that again. Are you going to work better, highlighter? So we're talking about, yeah, that's much better. Combined. I know that combined means that I'm going to need to add. Sometimes there are words that can be a little bit helpful to give you some direction on where to go with your problem. So how many birds, fish, and dogs are there combined? Now, when I'm looking up here at the problem, let's take a look at birds. So birds, if I go, I think I'm going to write on this. If I go straight across for birds, 15. And that's where that 15 number came. So that's my birds. Fish. All right, I'm going to go up here to fish. I'm going to go straight across, and 21. That's where the 21 came from. And then dogs. I'm going to go over here to dogs, and I'm going to go straight across, and it's at 6. And now all I need to do is add them. So I'm going to add 15 plus 21 plus 6. Well, when I'm thinking about adding these, and it's up to you which numbers, because we know what the commutative property tells us is that you can decide any way that you would like to add these numbers. You're still going to get your same answer. So I'm thinking I'm just going to take 21, and I'm going to add that to 6. And I know 21 plus 6 is 27. Let's make that 7 look a little bit better. Now I'm going to kind of put a squiggly line here. And remember, learners, you're going to be solving your problems on your piece of paper with a pencil. You won't be doing that part on the computer. The part you'll be doing on the computer is communicating what equation with a variable for the unknown that you use to solve it, and also explaining in words. Don't forget explaining in words how you got your answer. It's not just your equation you're using to explain how you got your answer. You're using words too. So I got 27, so I did 21. I'm going to put a check, plus 26. I'm going to put a check. And now all I need to do is add this 15 to that sum of 27. So I'm going to kind of write 27 plus 15 And I know that 7, think I might, I'm going to make a ones, tens, and hundreds chart over here to help me with that. So ones, tens, hundreds. And I know I have some learners who really appreciate ones, tens, and hundreds charts, and I have some learners who maybe don't need them. They have other strategies, which works too. So I'm going to start with 27, 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. There's my 27. And I'm going to add to that, so I'm going to draw a little line here to kind of separate my 15 from it, because otherwise I might get a little confused. And I might even change colors here. I'm going to change it to blue. I'm going to add 15. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, now I need to add them all together. So I'm actually going to change colors again. That way we can really see what we're doing. There are a whole lot of ones here. If I were to add all of these ones up, there would just be too many. I can't have a double-digit number in the ones place. So I know that I can make a 10 with my ones and bring it over to the tens place. So up here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let me draw a circle around these, and I'm going to bring it over here. And now I no longer have these 10 ones here. I now have a 10. Now, if I were to show here what I was doing, because we call this the standard algorithm, right? We can use the standard algorithm to help us solve. If I'm thinking of 7 ones plus 5 ones, that's too many. I mean, think about that over here. We have 10, this is 10, 11, 12. I can't have that many in the ones place. So we just brought a 10 over. So here's the 10 that I'm going to bring over here to the tens place. And then how many ones do we have left? We have 1, 2. So I'm going to place a 2 right here. This is the standard algorithm to help you solve. And this is the place value chart to help you solve. And you can decide which strategy to use. If you want to use both of them, you can. Or if you want to use one of them, you can. That's fine too. So you got to figure out which strategy works best for you. Now let me count how many tens I have. 1 10, 2 10s, 3 10s, 4 10s. Okay, let me come over here. 1 10s plus 2 10s is 3 10s, plus 1 more 10 is 4 10s. So both of these match up. So it looks like, hello, it looks like my sum is 42. And let me double check. 10, 20, 30, 40. Oops, did not mean to put that dot there. 41, 42. Let me grab this. Okay, so we found the sum of 42. So I'm going to write, will you let me type? 42 here. So there are 42 birds, fish, and dogs combined to find my sum I. Now, remember learners, we don't just put an equation there and then that's my answer. We have to explain how we got it. And as we're explaining each step, we're explaining why we did that step. So to find my sum I, I first looked at the bar graph and saw that there were 15 birds, 21 fish, and 6 dogs. Then comma, because that's a transition word, a linking word, we put commas behind those. Then I added the number of birds, fish, and dogs together because the question is asking how many there are combined. To add, okay, so first I added the 21 fish and 6 dogs together. And I want to say why, because those numbers were easiest to add first. commutative property, we can decide what numbers we want to add first. And really, the associative property tells us that too, because those numbers are the easiest to add first. Then I took, first I had 21 fish and 6 dogs together because those numbers were easiest to add first. I found the sum. Remember that word sum, the answer to an addition problem. Use those math vocabulary words when you communicate your answer. I found the sum of 27 fish and birds, or fish and dogs. Yeah, fish and dogs. Then I used the standard algorithm and place value chart to help me add 27 and 15. Add 27 fish and dogs. It sounds like I'm talking about hot dogs. To add 27 to the 15 birds. I found, I got the answer, I got the sum of 42. So that's an example of what it would look like to, there's your equation. Remember, for the next problem, there is no equation there. So really, you're going to have to create the equation that would go with that problem. Let me show you what I mean by that. So the problem says, how many more fish and birds are there than cats? So if I were to create a problem that would go with this, it says, how many more fish and birds? Well, that and fish and birds tells me, so I'm going to kind of take a highlighter to that, fish and birds. That and tells me that I'm going to be adding together the fish and birds. How many more fish and birds are there than cats? So I'm going to grab my highlighter again because it says than cats. That than tells me that I'm going to be comparing. We're comparing the fish and the birds together to the cats. I'm going to put than, here's my subtraction symbol, than cats. So if I'm thinking about what equation would work for this, how many more fish and birds? Well, I know that there are 21, and I need to make sure I combine those. So I'm going to put the parentheses together. I'm going to put the parentheses in here because I need the fish and the birds. So I got to add those together before I subtract the cats from them. So how many more fish is 21 and birds, 15. How many more fish and birds than, here's my subtraction symbol because we're comparing the fish and the birds together to the cats. And the cats, there are 9. Equals, and you could literally put any letter. I'll put H today just to show you that it can be any symbol. So that would be an example of how to come up with your equation with a variable for the unknown. And this is what I would use to solve it. I'm going to double check my equation. Let me double check how many more fish, 21, and birds, 15, than cats, 9. So yes, this is my equation. So then I would solve this equation, identify the variable for the unknown, and then I would communicate how I got my answer. What did I do to get my answer? So learners, this is what you're doing today. You are going to be given a bar graph. Make sense of the bar graph. Go to an adult in your home if that helps you, or a brother or sister, talk to them about what that graph's about. Get out a piece of paper and pencil, solve the 2 problems that go with that bar graph, and then you are going to show us what the equation was that you identified with a variable for the unknown, and communicate how you got your answer. What were the steps that you took? All right, learners, keep up the great work. Your 3rd grade teachers are all very proud of you. Keep it up.